My name is Jerry Schuber. I am the Solid Waste and Recycling Director. I've got a few slides to go over, but typically what happens is I race through those, and then you have questions and answers, and that takes a lot of time. So I really try to get through my stuff quickly so that I can get those questions and answers answered to you. So just start off real quick. Our mission with Solid Waste and Recycling is Solid Waste and Recycling is here to ensure the preservation of our community's environment by collecting green waste, recyclables, and refuse in a professional and efficient manner through teamwork, education, and while providing the highest quality of service. And I can honestly tell you, I'm here just a little over almost 2 years. May will be 2 years. This group has more concern and care for you as a community than probably more places I've seen. They really exercise this every day. So we're one of the few departments, and I'm not going to read slides to you all day. You can do that. We're one of the few departments that I honestly believe has more hands-on individual contact with you than any department in the city. Now, that's not to take anything away from those folks. They do amazing work. I can't drive to your house if the streets aren't done. We need water, we need sewer, we need police, we need fire, but we're one of the only groups in the city that will come to your house every week, whether you call us or not. There's only one municipal or federal agency that does more hands-on with the customers than us, and that's the Postal Service, because they're there 6 days a week. So, and it doesn't matter. Rain, snow, wind, hot, we're there. We just recently received an award from the Met for the Green City of the Year. And on top of that, our affiliate for Keep Broken Arrow Beautiful just received the Affiliate of the Year for all the efforts that our groups are working on. I couldn't be prouder of the group that we work with. They have found ways to engage our public at a totally different level. And for anybody here who's gone to the Trash Bash and Recycle Rally, that's one of the jewels in our crown right now. I'm so happy with the exercise, but more importantly, the people who are coming out and engaging us, because we've had the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with customers, educating them on what's recyclable, what's not, and then also having these Trash Bash Recycle Rallies gives us the ability to bring material in that we wouldn't typically take in our recycling stream. So it gives us the opportunity to get you an additional resource. Hard to read, but this is the material that we actually received during our last 3 Trash Bash and Recycle rallies. And I think some of the stuff that kind of stands out that's kind of interesting is that we take in things like ammunition. You wouldn't think in Oklahoma that somebody would want to get rid of ammo, but there are people who someone passes or they have older materials they want to get rid of. We actually take stuff like that. So our first event, we took in 78 pounds of ammunition. 35 pounds the second event, and only 3 pounds the last event. Ammo went up, I guess. So it went up in price, it went down in the material that gets dropped off. Cardboard, 1,500 pounds, 1,200 pounds. The last one was 200 pounds. So we're seeing, one of the things that we're seeing is as we make this event more often, so it's twice a year. We have it twice a year. We're starting to see those numbers drop down, but we're also starting to see the increase of material that we do take, like cardboard, aluminum, glass. Those materials are starting to come up in our curbside program, which is what we want. We want that material because it helps us actually market what we bring in. So, and then some of the other things that we take that really hasn't gone down a whole lot is like shredded paper. We'll let people bring in boxes of material to shred. Everybody loves a shredding event. I've yet to be at one where there wasn't a lot of people who showed up, because getting our stuff shred as opposed to having our information out there where people can get at it is huge. And then some of the other stuff like tires, needles, RX drugs, the prescription medications, being able to have a place where you can drop that stuff off for free is amazing. And so our team has really worked hard to try to make sure that we can give those opportunities for you. Yes, sir. Sharps? That's what sharps means. Yeah, those are needles. Anything that is a medical sharp, We would probably take scalpels or something like that too, but most people don't have those. They have the syringes or the item they use to actually prick themselves to get the blood out so that they can test. So the lancet is what they call it. So we take that material back, and this gives us the opportunity to recycle it. So for recycling, since we started, now everybody knows we had a reset, right? Because we had our fire. It wasn't ours, but unfortunately it affected us greatly. We have collected 4,272 pounds of recycling, or tons of recycling, sorry. That's 8,544 pounds of materials that has been saved from the landfill and sent to recycling markets. And a lot of our markets are local, they're here in our state. Now, I typically don't tell a lot of people, but this is a very intimate group, so I'll say it. I originally came from California. We didn't have markets like this here in California. We had to ship things overseas. We had to send them out of the state. One of the things that Oklahoma should be so proud of is that we have markets internal here. We built manufacturing. We take materials and we remanufacture it here. So that's pretty incredible when you think about it, because we don't have to send things with vehicle miles traveled, right? Ship them overseas or anywhere else. We manage our products here, which is it's pretty incredible when you come from a place where they don't do that. So the recycling team attended 34 events. We had contact with 5,811 people just last year alone. We presented to 8 schools. One of the places that is like low-hanging fruit for any recycling operation is getting in there and actually talking to the kids. Anybody have kids at home or had kids at home? Who is the one who normally has to put out the garbage, right? When they're young, hey, my son Jerry, I'd say, hey, go put the garbage out, right? So he was also responsible for taking out the recycling. Now, because he was educated in recycling, he would come to me and go, Dad, that doesn't go in there. There's nothing worse than having your own son tell you when you're in the business, that doesn't go in there. So educating kids really helps us try to kind of direct the family as to what goes on, what should go in that container. We had 26% contamination rate right now. We were as low as 20% before the fire. So this is one of the areas that we're going to be focusing on over the next year, is trying to get that contamination back down. It means that, and it's a great question, contaminations are materials that go into the recycling container that actually belong in the trash. So let's say I get a box and it's got styrofoam in it. They just throw the whole thing in, but the styrofoam is not recyclable. We don't have a market for that here. So that's a contamination. Some people will go, hey, I got a blue container and I got a black container. I'll just throw everything in both containers because they're both garbage. Well, they're not. And so that contamination rate brings it up. It also makes it more expensive for us to actually sort through the material. So by eliminating that material and reducing the contamination rate, it makes it easier for us to get the stuff to market quicker. So how can I help? We always say if it's trash, keep it out of the blue, right? Don't put it in our blue cart, because that just adds to the contamination rate. The other thing is, if the origin is in your garage or shed, it gives us dread, right? So if you're in the garage and you've got chemicals and but it's a can, right? It was paint, but whatever, and you throw it in your recycling, it doesn't go there. The worst ones for us are things like tanglers, cable, which is metal. Most people would go, oh yeah, well that's metal, it goes into recycling. It actually ruins the equipment that they use to sort this material, because there's a lot of belts that are turning. So when they're turning, they're actually getting jammed up in the belts, and they'll break bushings and bearings and things in the belt. Garden hoses is another one. Hey, it's rubber and it's got metal on either end. No, it's garbage. Please put it in the trash can. And then the worst one I've ever seen is diapers. Disposable diapers. And I always get a giggle out of that, because people will go, well, that's not recyclable. Well, it looks like plastic. So people go, oh, it's plastic. Just remember, there's somebody sorting through this material on a line somewhere, and I guarantee you they would prefer it if you put your diaper in the black container, please. So if you know anybody who's got little kids, remind them, put it in the black container. So residential cart service is what we're currently working on and what we have brought into the city. We have 41 trucks with 22 drivers and 26 helpers. 9 administrative staffs within the department. We do 76,964 stops per week. And most people go, well, that doesn't make sense. There's 116,000. There's people who live there. What it comes down to is how many houses we service and how often. So we service every house twice. We got a green waste or a solid waste and a recycling. So we're at every house twice. So cut that in half. That's how many customers we have internally. And we pick up 770 tons of refuse, recyclables, and green waste every week. We are very busy. So solid waste statistics, we collected 36,308 tons last year. That's 72,616 pounds of garbage. I guarantee nobody here thought that we had that much trash in this town. Well, we do, and we pick it up. The department traveled approximately 376,380 miles last year alone. That's to the moon and halfway back. So if you're Apollo 13, it's kind of one of those deals, right? So solid waste carts are really the wave of our future in this department as well as within the city. And the reason for that is there's a couple of things that happen when we use carts as opposed to doing the old system of bag collection. When we have carts, we can maximize the efficiency of the routes, meaning I know if we have had a stroke, sorry. If we have a automated side load vehicle, we can pick up 2.5 containers for every 1 minute. So once we start routing the city in a way that picks up containers and moves quickly, we can actually make sure that we maximize the efficiency. The other thing that happens in carts is that we know we're protecting the workers from the heavy injuries of lifting and throwing things, bags and carts. And then on top of it, it allows for us to accurately estimate the routing sizes. So if we know how much tonnage we're going to pick up, how many containers we have to get, and what has to get done, we can get it done in a timely fashion within the workday that they have. And then it equalizes the rates for all residents. So if I put out 2 carts, and you put out 2 carts, but you put out 2 carts and 50 bags, all at the same price, the rates become convoluted. We are subsidizing the extra service. So what we do is we get to a cart, when we start building our routes around carts, we actually start to be able to stabilize rates within that. So the future of the solid waste department is the ASL. And for anybody who has a recycling program here in town, you've already seen our trucks running around picking up nothing but recycling with the side loader. Eventually, our plan is to get all of our vehicles to the side load routes so that we're only dealing with one person driving one truck. Right now, we deal with one truck and 2 additional people. So you have 3 people, and I'll get into the details a little bit here. We actually have, at our best routes, pick up about 800 stops with 3 people on a rear load truck. Whereas with a side loader, I can pick up 1,500 stops with 1 person. So for anybody who understands how the math works, eventually what you see is our efficiency rates go way up when we have 1 truck, 1 person. On top of that, you have things like they don't have to get out of the vehicle when it's snowing, it's raining, it's icing, and they can continue to do service. Whereas we can't. I mean, I was out servicing routes when we had that negative 14-degree weather with the wind chill. I went out with the teams and was working, throwing bags with them. I can tell you right now, it was not fun. But we wanted to service our customers. We don't have that when you're dealing with a side loader because they're inside the heated cab or they're inside the air-conditioned cab. And they're picking up almost twice as much. So because we have so many helpers, the other thing we do is that we send those helpers over to Tulsa Tech to get driver's licenses. That way we can train them and they can have career path. So they can actually learn how to drive those trucks. That's it. So here's the big part, the question and answer section. This always takes the most time. So who has a question for me? Yes, sir.
How much money are we making from our recycling program when we're selling those components?
Currently, we don't make any money for our recycling program. So let me ask you a question. This is how I kind of I have to frame this a little bit differently because if I went to your house and I went over to the hose bib and I turned on the water and I let it run, would you be angry with me? Why?
Because it's not money.
It's your money and you're wasting the resource, right? Everybody knows that water is a resource and we don't want to waste it. But we all get that, so we turn the hose bib off and we were very controlled with what we have. Recycling is the same thing. These resources that we have are finite. So the mindset has to change from where we were to where we need to be, where we say to ourselves, that material that is now being thrown into a dump or burned has value. And it costs a lot less for us to actually refine the material and turn it into a new product than it does to get it out of the ground or off the tree. So we just have to change the way we think about it. It costs us more, but it saves us more in the long run. And I know you totally get it. I can see it in your face. But I say that because I want to frame it in a way so everybody understands. Recycling typically costs us money. It does. I'm straight up with that. But it pays dividends in long runs. And that's why we do it. Anybody here got kids, grandkids? I mean, heck, I got 4 grandkids. I don't do this for me. I do it for them. Because I know that the seeds I plant today are trees that somebody else will enjoy the shade of. That's how it works. So, any other questions? Good question. Thank you. Yes, sir.
I printed a list that was on the website for what can be recycled
Yes, sir.
in October of 2020. Does it change what can be recycled?
Currently, our market is the same. Now, there are times.
Are we notified?
There are times when a market will change, something no longer can be recycled, or we can add something to the market. When we do that, we typically send out information over where you've got it, off of our website, to let people know.
I would have to go look for that.
Yeah, we do announcements and we do videos. I don't know, some of you may have seen me do videos for the city. I love getting the news out. And unfortunately, not everybody is engaged. You folks are, you're here. But not everybody gets engaged in the process like that. And we don't typically send anything more than video and digital now because we're in a recycling operation. Send print means that we're printing paperwork. So, any other questions?
Not styrofoam, but
There are some plastics that just don't have markets, and that's why a lot of the companies that are doing manufacturing now are changing the materials they use to try to build a better resiliency and a closed loop.
so you still would not put those in the recycling.
We don't because they end up in the landfill. So that's part of the contamination rate, the 26%. That's part of our contamination rate.
We used to have a truck in our neighborhood that would, one truck that picked it up like you were talking about,
Yeah.
trying to do it. Now they've switched over to
2 trucks, right? You're in Broken Arrow. Yeah. No, if you're in Broken Arrow, but you live in Wagner County, you may have a different service. If you've got our service, we typically pick up at 2 trucks.
it's got DA recycling.
Yeah.
They got into a smaller truck.
Oh, you're on the pup truck. It's a small truck. Yeah. That means you're in the country. We call that a country route. So, okay, I'm down to my last minute. Any other questions for me? If you have some and I didn't answer them or you'd like to ask me privately, I'll step outside and you can ask me whatever you want. I'll try to answer.